Hello, I'm Oral, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live. I have with me the leader of the largest union in St. Martin, Mr. Thompson, president of the Wifol union. How are you doing, sir?
Good day, Oral.
Well, it's good to have you in the program.
Fine.
You're looking great, man. That's you pull up in the unity flag.
Thank God for the Most High.
Some things, I was just joking with you when you pulled up a while ago to the station, and I saw you were flying a unity flag on your vehicle.
Yes, because I believe in St. Martin uniting the people, understanding their rights, and knowing how to move forward. Hopefully that our leadership in government will understand our rights. Because there are many ILO conventions and UN Charter that give St. Martin its rights and the people their rights. But many times I realize we have to face embarrassing position. And when I hear what's happening to our island, I realize that our political leadership lack knowledge. Legal knowledge that has to do with the rights of our island and the people.
So do you want to elaborate on that part with our leaders lack knowledge on those rights you just mentioned?
Yes. For example, the Caribbean has a very important history. After slavery was abolished, Europe always involved in conflict. Like right now, there's a war in Europe. It's nothing new to human history. When you look at world history, and as a historian, there's never a period, a dispensation, when Europe isn't at war. That's the reason why slavery was imposed, because they tried to conquer, take over Africa. But Africa was one of the main area of our earth, in education, in knowledge, and everything. And after slavery was abolished, as a matter of fact, the European country, which is called France, even Napoleon was conquering Europe. The only place where he couldn't conquer and defeated his army was Haiti. When the slaves, Haiti is the first republic in the entire world. And why you see this Statue of Liberty in America? Because France at one time had controlled the whole Caribbean, even the Americas. But because of wars in Europe, they switched hands between France, between Spain, between Portugal, between England, and so on. But we're not told the role that the Africans played in liberating some of these countries that eventually became independent, like the USA. The First World War, which they called a World War, right, and ended. After that, there was the birth of the ILO, which is the International Labour Organization. And because of the rebellion of the slaves in the Caribbean, the ILO was established. And after the Second World War, the UN was established. Up until this moment, the ILO is an independent entity within the structure of the UN. And for years up until now, the ILO has always had some Caribbean trade union leader on the executive board. That's why Trinidad still has an office of the ILO in the Caribbean, even though the main headquarters is in Geneva, in Switzerland. When the ILO established a charter that by the year 2020, there should be no more colonies in the world. Up until now, St. Martin is still a colony. I remember when we went in, before 10-10-10, I went to a meeting in Trinidad for the ILO. And there was many trade unions from Europe was also in that conference. And it was a discussion on the Caribbean becoming an area within the charter of the ILO. Only some countries became independent in the Caribbean. And it wasn't a desire of the people to remain colonies. That's why many trade unions in the Caribbean, the history of the Caribbean will tell you that the trade union leaders was the ones who fought for independence for these islands. I remember when I became a member of Wifol. Wifol had a convention in 1983, and in that convention, the workers of St. Martin passed a resolution that St. Martin, Sabre, and Statia should become independent. I'm writing the history of labor movement on St. Martin, and when I did my research, I realized that.
But you know what happened on the 1st of April 1983, right?
Yes.
St. Martin, Sabre, and Statia were no longer one island territory.
Right.
On that day.
Right. But even the status of the Netherlands Antilles within the UN Charter was always put as an associate within the Dutch Kingdom. The next step for the Netherlands Antilles was to become an independent country. But so whatever happened is that the leadership, they never understood, I would say, they lacked the knowledge of the UN Charter that there should be no more colonies. Everyone should have self-determination. As a matter of fact, when you read the UN Charter, it says that the language of the colony must be recognized. That's why the Europeans, they established in Brussels an institution that whatever language the people speak, all documents must be translated into their language. So if English, like St. Martin, the majority of persons at St. Martin speak English. And even though you get documents in Dutch. Majority of people can't even read what they get as documents. You know, one thing that...
While the Constitution states that English and Dutch are the official languages.
Right. A lot of things our Constitution say, but we're not abiding by it. Even we should have our own national song based on the Constitution. Only one person ever tried to get it in place.
You know what happened to her?
Right.
That was the first Minister of Education.
Right. And from then up to now, she go all over the place teaching as an educator. Other countries, right now she's in the States, in a university. Right?
At Howard University.
Right.
Yeah.
And no one ever tried to get this vision to become a reality. Now, I also want to touch on, I wrote a pamphlet on St. Martin should claim his children, right?
Okay. Hold that thought, Mr. Thompson. I just want to let my viewers know that you're watching Oral Gives Live on YouTube, Facebook, or you're listening to us on Hot 99.9 FM radio. My guest is Mr. Wifol Thompson. He is the president of the oldest and longest trade union here in St. Martin, and we're here to speak with him. I know, Mr. Thompson, today you were saying a lot about history, which is very important. So you want to go ahead on that pamphlet you were talking about?
Yes. One of the UN Convention, which is fundamental after the UN was established. Every child at birth has the right to a name and a nationality. Right now in St. Martin, we have a lot of our youths, even though they were born here. And I'm an example, because was conceived in Aruba, but my parents couldn't give birth, so I went to St. Kitts. I was born in St. Kitts.
Because at that time they had to leave.
Right.
Go back to, yeah.
Good. But my father left before I was born. He went to England a year before I was born. I was born in 54. That's why my history is so elaborate, because I was raised with my grandfather, and he himself, as a young person, went to Santo Domingo to cut cane. San Pedro de Mariners,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. And he gave me a lot of history about the Caribbean struggle, plantation life, and so on. And many people from the Caribbean went to different places. I've been to Cuba twice on missions for our trade union movement in the Caribbean. And I was surprised when the guy who was our guide, he spoke 7 different languages, but he never left Cuba. Because I've been to many islands in the Caribbean, I detect Bajan language.
In his English, yeah?
In his language.
Yeah.
So I asked him where he from. He tell me he born in Cuba, but his grandparents was from Barbados. So he raised up in, with his parents,
English
and
speaking, yeah.
they speak their language. So, but because of the Cuban education system, he was able to speak different languages. And that was, he was chosen to be our guide, because from the trade union movement in the Caribbean, they chose me, a brother from Curacao and one from Aruba, to go to Cuba on this mission. When I went to the trade union office in Cuba, I saw so many other Caribbean people, pictures in the union office from different islands in the Caribbean. And I understood that in those early days, people from all islands of the Caribbean went to Santo Domingo and Cuba to cut cane. It's important that our history is known, because back to about the children, the ILO convention, and I have a booklet here. I remember I went to a meeting when the former Minister of Justice had a meeting, and I gave her a copy of this book, because in the book it say, Article 7 say name and nationality, that every child has a right to a name and nationality at birth. So why should our children wait until they're 18 to have a right to a nationality?
Right, we have to clarify that for people who are not aware of the law.
Yeah.
The law states that if you were born from a parent that's not carrying the Dutch nationality, then you don't get that at birth.
Yeah, but that law is legal based on international right.
Oh yeah, I'm just telling you, I'm not.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not a supporter of that. I think when you're born here, you automatically should be recognized as a St. Martin, but we're not independent. So because we're not independent, This is all the confusion
Yeah,
that's
but
happening.
our nationality is not St. Martin. It's
No, that's what I'm saying. If we were independent country,
Right.
then we will decide who we want to, and we can change that law.
right. Right.
But right now, the Dutch kingdom decides, and because, as you mentioned rightfully so earlier, we are a colony.
Yeah.
Although we don't want to admit it many times, but
Right.
we are a colony of the Netherlands.
Yeah, we are colony, but even though we say how we are a country, we're not a country. if
Yeah.
if we were a country, then our prime minister should have equal rights as the prime minister in the Hague.
Yeah.
In the Hague, I remember when Brother Marlin went to Holland and they tried to embarrass him, and he came back home here, and they give him a deadline to pack up and leave his office. Elected here, but you can tell me I can't sit in my seat. That was against international conventions and the right of the people.
Well, I mean, I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but there's some debate on that. A lot of people thought it was the right thing for the Dutch government to do.
Well, see, I'm glad because when I finished high school, I wanted to become either a teacher or a lawyer. And in this job, I'm a teacher. I have my own school. And I get to know law because of my exposure, you know. So I know international laws, I know our local laws. That's why I've never lost a court case, here. But every time I go to court, only judges know that I don't speak Dutch. So whenever I go to court, they always ask me to give my opinion. And my opinion is always based on international laws. And they know those international laws. They know the rights of workers. So it's important that our leadership, and I hope that this government, because I heard a little interview with Mr. Messalina, but he sound positive.
Still a little too early to tell what's going to happen.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. You know how because when in office they always change.
Yes.
But I tell you, I hope that they talk to us as unions, because we have knowledge. I'm very versed in international laws and conventions and treaties and so on. And I'm willing to share, because our island need to have good representation.
But the previous government, did they cooperate or met with you?
No. This last government refused to talk to the unions.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So there was no communication with.
Well, at least Wifol, no.
Yeah.
Zero. Look at the case with Ansari. We had a case on Ansari. We won the court case against Ansari, the towers. And up to now, none of the ministers ever talked to us about that. We had to bring in the mediator, and we had action in Mother Bay. They had a golf tournament, and we had action on there. So it was black. They called us, and we tried to cooperate. We went to a meeting with our lawyers and their lawyers, and there was an agreement between the then manager and Ansari that the workers would get their severance pay and whatever they due to them, back salaries and so on. And up until now, the mediator never deal with those matters.
So the mediator is at fault, you were saying?
Sure. Again, lack of knowledge. I remember when Mr. Lopes was there as a mediator, I never used to go to court so often. This is the first time we have so many court cases. since I'm president of Wifol, since this new government took over. Because no touch, no communication between the minister and the mediator. So I want to make sure that we claim our rights and our youths understand that we are St. Martiners, right? When I realized that, I have a son right now in Holland studying, right? He worked at the medical center for a number of years, and he want to, from small, I call him doctor because I saw that potential in him. And I have a daughter right now who just finished her studies and has masters in education. She applied all the way in different area.
In St. Martin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And never get a job.
But you know what, right?
Well, I assume that.
Wait, look, you're a labor union leader.
Right.
I'm the longest running television talk show host that's been a pest to every government that's there because I show the people the reality of it.
I know that, or
right. So again, you fall in that same area like myself.
Yeah. She even applied for the central bank because she's qualified for that. The point I want to bring is that from my experience, I make sure that I apply the rights of a child born. They born St. Martin, and they have the name.
And your son, you said, is in Holland. He's studying medicine in Holland.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have the nationality because I know the rights of a child. So I remember when at the time Brother Richards was governor. As a matter of fact, I'm looking forward to have a dialogue with this present governor because, he's new. And I don't know if he was informed that, because we never had a meeting since he's in office.
That's the new governor?
Yeah.
Look, I laugh because, Mr. Thompson, when you assume certain position in a country, which is really not a country, it's part of the kingdom, you should make it your business to meet with the various stakeholders, of which you are. You represent the largest trade union on the island.
Right.
I just can't understand that we have someone new as a governor now and have never met with you. What about the previous governor, Holiday?
Any event that he ever had, we were always invited.
Okay. And what about this one? You got invited to the New Year's?
No, nothing.
But there's a list. Don't worry, I'm not on the list either. But this is what St. Martin is all about, really. It's unbelievable. And sometimes you go to these functions and you see people who definitely should not be there. And people who should be there are not there.
Right.
That's the reality here in St. Martin. So don't expect, and I don't have to tell you that. You should know that.
Yeah, I realize that, but I'm looking forward, hopeful that this new government would talk to us, because, based on the UN's charter for the rights of people, the most important body on St. Martin is supposed to be the cell, right?
Right.
Based on the UN charter, all the other things that Holland imposed on St. Martin that has more authority, and our leaders just listen to them, and for example, the IMF should never be in St. Martin.
And there's a reason for that, why they should not be here.
Right. I remember there was a meeting in Billay Community Center couple of years ago.
In fact, you're referring to the World Bank, actually, right?
Right,
Yeah.
the World Bank. And because of my knowledge of the World Bank and the IMF, right? The person who was in the meeting, after the meeting finished, I went to them and I confronted him. And he wanted to know where I get my knowledge from. I say, I've been to many IMF and World Bank meetings in Barbados, in Trinidad, in Jamaica.
Those are independent countries.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
And I say, I understood the role of the World Bank and the IMF. St. Martin is part of the Dutch kingdom. Whatever St. Martin has as a problem, Holland has an obligation. And one thing that I want to share is this thing called Sustainable Development Goals. St. Martin should never get any money from Holland to pay back as a loan. Holland has as an obligation. Look over schools. That is Holland obligation to repair and put schools back in place. All those debt for the hospital, that's Holland's responsibility. We shouldn't be in debt to put a hospital back in place. Because our leadership, those are 17 goals, which one of them is poverty, we have hunger, we have education, we have health. If I was to go to a meeting, right, with these Dutch government officials, I will tell them that, look, you are violating our rights. You have obligation as a colony to put these things in place. You're going against the UN Charter that you sign off on. I have copies of those signatures.
So they're signatory to it?
Oh, yes. When I do my research as a historian, and I see who all sign off on those UN Charter and conventions, Holland signed off on them.
You think our government gave a damn?
Well, I would say that they lack knowledge.
But even when they have the knowledge, they have fear. Fear is the terrible thing.
Yeah, oh yes.
They have knowledge, but when you fear the Dutch government because they're so big and almighty, and you don't realize that you have your rights and obligations.
Yeah, you have your rights.
Mr. Thompson, I'm smiling because, look, a lot of people don't like this discussion right now because you said earlier we're a colony. I've been saying that too. People get very angry when you refer to St. Martin as a colony.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I sense I've interviewed you many times that this interview, you have this urge to educate the population and you're targeting the rights of people and youth. Am I correct?
Sure. Sure. As a matter of fact, for years, I have been a coach, right? Working with youths in Dutch Quarter, where I also abide. And we produce for years the #1 goalkeeper for youths and the captain. A couple months ago, I was approached by another coach and wanted me to assist them. So right now, I'm assisting a youth organization because what I installed, I told those children, if we can't win a game, we draw it. Nobody can score on my goalkeeper. And you must maintain your eyes on the goal, on the ball, and we will win our game. And these past weeks, we have been winning our games up to Saturday gone.
Really, that's good, eh?
Right?
Yeah.
The youths, they won 3 out of 4 games. Yes.
It's good.
And you know, as a historian, I always take pictures of those things. I didn't come to talk about this, but I could show you.
Hold it up there.
I could show you the team that
It looks nice. Yeah.
yeah.
That's great.
So I walk along with these other coaches.
That's the future there, man.
Right here. Oh yes. And this young fella you see here
Yeah.
in green,
Yeah.
you couldn't score on him.
The goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper.
Yeah, he looks good, man. That's nice. Really nice. Yeah. So go ahead, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to dialogue with the upcoming political leaders, and especially our economy need to be one thing that I believe in. That's why I have my school. I believe in promoting from within. All of these persons who I see coming in to take over position, I would never tolerate those things if we were in those companies. The only local managers in hotels on St. Martin right now, because we stop the owners from bringing in anybody from outside. You either train or we have here, because they have the experience, they have the knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay? And I remember one of the first person I come from this was Ansari.
Oh, really? Yeah. That was back in the 80s.
Yeah, that was, I think you had just leave.
Yeah, I was a duty manager at Mola by the time.
Right, I remember that.
Left, yeah.
I had just become part of Wifol.
Yeah.
And this lady, Pat Jones.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
She was our HR
right.
thing. And matter of fact, they had this guy who came to St. Martin from Holland. He was head of security. And Clarence Dovey was just maybe a supervisor. And Cotton. And when there was a problem in Mono Bay, and I told Ansari, you either promote from within, otherwise I won't accept nobody else coming from overseas to be head of a department thing.
What was his response?
Yeah.
What was his response? What was Ansari's
Well, he didn't agree with that, because matter of fact, a couple weeks after, there was a security guard. You remember in Malawi, where he used to live up on the hill? There was a security guard from the French side.
Building 90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And security guard didn't know who he was.
Oh boy, that's trouble right there.
Oh yeah, and he was fired. So we had to intervene. And eventually the guy came back, but he moved him from being a security guard. But I remember after Hurricane Louis, me and he had a discussion, and he promised that in three years' time, Mother Baby will be back. I mean, up and now, right?
Yeah.
That's why when we had the action in Towers and we won the court case, and nobody up to now has discussed with us about the payment and so on. Even the banks that he had here, we had planned to block those banks now.
I mean the bank that you have right here in Sims Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, when the mediator intervened, and they asked us to, you know, they would deal with the matter. We just cool off. But and then anything take over up to now.
I want to jump back, Mr. Thompson, where you mentioned hotels and local managers. As the union that represent workers at most of the large hotels on St. Martin, how many hotels have local managers?
Well, you have the former Pelican. Mm-hmm. You have Royal Palm and Flamingo. And you have Bel Air.
So that's quite a few then now.
Yeah.
Mm. You know what surprises me is that when I was younger, I went to work at Muller Bay first as a busboy, waiter, and captain, and then I went to study and came back. And when I came back, I was a duty manager. In those days, 90% of management were all local people.
Right.
You know, from general manager all the way down.
Right.
And now today it's difficult to find, and we have more local people with advanced degrees in hospitality,
Right.
capable to manage, but they're not getting the jobs.
That's true. Same thing in casinos.
Right.
I don't know for now, but before time, we always promote local managers in the casinos. But I don't know how it is because we don't represent casinos anymore.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, I want to go to a quick break. Then we're going to come back. All right? So hold your thought there. In case you've just joined us, I'm Earl Gibbs. I'm speaking with Mr. Theophilus Thompson. Mr. Thompson is the president of the largest trade union on St. Martin, Wifol. This is Hot 99.9 FM radio, Facebook, and YouTube. So when we come back, we'll continue right here with Mr. Thompson.
We are vibrant, expressive, warm, and diverse. Together, we conquer, and now we expand into new horizons, giving you more of the best. Introducing our new Bankomatico Plus with wider acceptance, purchase protection, and enhanced security. Whether you're online, traveling, or in paradise, experience more with Windward Island Bank. Bankomatico Plus, more of the best.
My guest on the Oral Gibbs Live is Mr. Theophilus Thompson, president of the Wifol Union, the largest trade union here in St. Martin. You're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or you're listening to us on radio, on Hot 99.9 FM radio. And it's always good to have you along with us here in the program, Mr. Thompson. So there's so many things that you've been doing, and I think for a lot of people who are not aware of the history, the Wifol goes way back, and I think Mr. Rennie Richardson and there was someone before him too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wifol was started after the uprising in Curacao.
69.
Yes, and many of the workers from St. Martin who was working in hospitality in Curacao came back home.
Okay.
And there was a young man called Emiliano Dal from Curacao. He was active, what we call in unionism, sharp steward. And he talked to some of the workers who was in Curacao to establish a trade union also in St. Martin for the, what you call the Windward Islands.
Okay.
And in this month was the birth of Wifol. And they established Wifol. Mr. Dahl, he became president. And then there was another militant trade unionist, what we call sharp stewards then. Today we call them cadres, And along with St. Martiners, they formed the first trade union on St. Martin in a place called St. Martin Isles, which was later called Great Bay.
Yeah, that was quite a hotel there.
Yeah. And that's how Wifol started. And then the hotel went into bankruptcy. And that's where Spadaro, I think he had just newly came to St. Martin. First, he went St. Kitts and St. Kitts running. And he came here. He had two other friends from Italy. The father of Francesco Corallo, who is still here. And it was Corallo and Ilario. They still have casinos here, but his main thing was casino. But as Wifol expand, and after the bankruptcy of St. Martin Isles, it went into dormancy. But there was a problem in what they call Maho. And there were two young men from French Quarter who was working at St. Martin Isles at the time. And they went to work at Maho. And they decided to talk to Rene Richardson, because he was an accountant, a young fellow, came back to St. Martin, and they asked Rene to help them, how to deal with tips and so on. And that time Rene's wife was a nurse, I think, in Mother Bay.
Right, exactly, at the clinic in Mother Bay, yeah.
Right. And Rene asked them, help them resolve the tip pool problem. And in 73, because 72, 73, Wifol was around. And then after they went to dormancy. And then 2 years later, after the young men from French Quarter decided to reactivate Wifol, they had a conference, what you call a convention.
Yeah.
And Rene was elected as president. So he became the second president of Wifol.
I remember, not too vividly, when there was a referendum at Mother Bay to see if the union will represent the workers.
Right.
Mother Bay was giving away beds, all kind of things to workers to discourage them from becoming members of the Wifol.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes, I heard about that.
Oh, you. It was incredible. Here you have a huge hotel, the largest in the northeastern Caribbean, wanted to keep the union out, and started giving its workers all kind of gifts just to dissuade them from joining the union.
Yeah, because the thing is that these capitalists, they feel that the trade union is a threat to them, because they don't take care of the employees, and the union. Remember that the ILO give union rights. Look, right now, even our laws here isn't following ILO conventions. Every worker has a right to become a union member. Our laws still prevent people from becoming members of the union.
Because they have to have 51% of the workforce.
Yeah, and that is outdated.
It's so strange, because you go across the border to the French side, it's not like that.
Exactly. That's why in Wifol we open our membership, not just based on what the law says. Anybody I have many workers who come to the Wifol representation, and we show them their rights. We go to the labor office with them, and we inform the labor person who is in charge of handling grievances that this person don't feel because the company that they work for isn't part of Wifol affiliates, but the workers have a right to representation, and the labor office individual accept those things, even though the law doesn't say that. But we know the rights of the worker. I could share with you an experience, a recent experience, where there was a young lady who worked at a WIB bank. And you see all those security, they have on the WIB tag on their uniform. And I thought that they were working for WIB, not knowing that they were working for sheriff security. And this lady came to me and said, listen, I'm working here for this company. My contract finished. I said, how long? No, she said, I used to work for sheriff for all these years. And they just end their contract with WIB, and now they put us to a new outsourced company. And this old company tell me that I can come and sign a contract. I said, how long you working here now? She said, 15 years. I said, you're permanent. So this company has to recognize that because you didn't get paid from sheriff. And I show her explain to her rights based on as a employee, based on international, based on ILO convention. And I draft a letter for her. I said, give your employer this letter here and tell them that you are permanent and you're not going to sign no other contract. Okay? And they called her to a meeting. And she gave them the letter. And they said, listen, come to a meeting on this Friday. So she came back and told me. I said, okay, you go to the meeting. If you need me, just tell them you have a representation, and I will come to the meeting. So the meeting was held in the bank in town. But I stayed on the outside because I don't want to intervene, And when the meeting finished, she didn't have to call me. But she called me and said, listen, they said I don't have to sign no contract no more. I'm permanent. I said, if you didn't stand up for your rights, you would have been out of a job. The problem is that most of those workers, they are other Caribbean people. And one thing that workers don't understand, and if you are not a St. Martin, this is one thing my grandfather teach me. If you leave your country of original, go to another country, make sure you have a skill. Then you can, if you get employed, you don't have to beg. So all you must have a skill. And many of these workers don't have a skill, so they depend on the employer to take care of them. I mean to take care, because the employer who has an immigrant worker has responsibility for housing and all those and those documents for. But those laws are not being upheld. So many people who come here to work, they gotta look for house, and the salary is below a living wage, so they can't even pay rent.
But what if the company didn't ask them to come here? They came to the island of their own volition, and
that's where the labor office got to function. You must have a list of who are people who are unemployed. So an employer cannot employ somebody unless they inform the labor office. So the employee want to bring from off island, the labor office must know, because there are guidelines that they must follow. You can't have somebody unless they're documented properly. Many employers don't follow that, but that's the law. That's our local laws.
But it's not being enforced, right?
That's right.
Oh, in some cases it's being enforced. Depend on the company too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Mr. Thompson, years ago, when I worked for the government, there was two kinds of workbook, a yellow and a green one. I don't know if you recall that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It still exists?
Well, I don't know if they still exist.
But that was a good idea at the time, though. Huh?
Yeah.
You had to buy it. And the green one identified those that I think were local, and the yellow was foreign. I don't know.
I think the yellow, because even people from the French side
had to get the
because right now I got a problem with that's why the unity of St. Martin is important for me. Because before time, somebody who born in St. Martin, whether they're north or south, they had the right.
Free movement of people.
Free movement of people.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know if I ever shared this with you before, but I remember, Claude, when Claude used to sit down in front street.
By the step there.
By the step right there, right? There was this manager, Dutchman, Robert Debo.
Oh yeah, no, that was my neighbor.
Yeah, he was managing Caravanserai, and there was a lady from Colombia who used to every year she used to visit her children in Guadeloupe because they were studying, and her husband was working in St. Thomas, and Robert Debo didn't know that every year she would get extra leave of absence to visit her family. And when he realized that the lady didn't come to work based on her vacation school schedule, he fired her. But she went to the for Claude. And Claude have his notepad. And Claude would write a note. And she said, listen, he told her, go Wifol building and look for this young man called Thompson. And tell him that the economy of St. Martin is for St. Martiners. And give me back your job right away. Otherwise, catch the plane and go back to Holland. So I went to Caravanserai, me and the shop stewards in Caravanserai, and we went to Mr. Dewood's office. And I gave him the note, because Claude had his signature.
Yeah.
And when he read Claude's note, and what I told him, he said, Mr. Thompson, please tell the lady to come back to work tomorrow. So I went to look for her in Colombia. But she couldn't come the following day because she had something to do. But the next day, she was on the job.
That was real power in those days.
Oh,
Today,
yes.
now, these are jokers. They can't do that. They'll laugh at them. They'll send a note.
I'm telling you. In them days, when you say, Claude, send you a note, you better abide by that.
I know. It's just amazing, And the thing about it is the compassion and dedication to your people is no longer there.
Right.
Wow.
Look, when they compare Front Street right now to before Teme, in Front Street, a lot of black people used to work in stores in Front Street, but not now.
No.
Very few.
They had to at the time employ people from here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you're from north or south.
Once you're born on St.
Martin, Claude make sure that you have a right to work.
Yeah.
But not now.
Those were the days, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah. Look, I win a court case against FE, a jewelry store in Front Street. That have stores on cruise ships and the harbour. And up to now, an employee hasn't received her payout. And that went to the Labour office, and we even tried to put the man who was head of the parliament to get him involved, but he also, maybe that's why even now the Indians didn't support him.
What do you mean, the previous president of parliament?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell him, if you in parliament and you're the law, this lady won her court case, and you know the people who own the store, they live in the States. Okay? And this lady is entitled because she started with the store from day one.
Wow. And so then the court ruled in her favor.
Yes.
And she still haven't received.
Up to now. That is one of the cases that I hope that I don't know who will be the new minister of Labour. I hope he or she talk to us, because I have Model Bay Towers to rectify. Because I look, Little Switzerland, we had to put pressure for them to pay out the workers. They get their money, but there was some strings between politicians that we had to threaten to close out the whole of Front Street.
Politicians also was involved?
Listen, every Christmas, if you walk in Front Street, you see everybody going with a bag. Somebody send a bag to somebody. A gift, a thing.
So it's quite interesting because normally they should not accept those gifts either.
Well, look. You see, you have a big change now in the election, because a lot of people decide, listen, you can buy my vote, right?
Yeah.
I want people who are going to stand up for the rights of the people.
Yeah. So all we can do is wait and see, though, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Yeah. You never know. I've been around a long time. I've been disappointed so often that I don't have any expectations anymore. I don't expect anything. I just wait and see. And for you, as a union leader, I remember you saying earlier in the program, because we're almost out of time, the previous government never wanted to speak with you.
That's right.
And you represent the workers in all the large hotels on the island.
Yeah.
And hospitality is our business.
Look, there was a symposium a couple days ago in the former Pelican Resort thing. And I went there, but I wasn't invited.
So you crash it.
I didn't crash it.
I just used to just pull your leg.
Yeah, that's how I operate.
Mm.
If something happening, if I don't know, I won't go. But
if you know you're going.
Sure, because it has to do with the hospitality.
Yeah.
My name wasn't on the list, but when I reached there, the people who were there, they know who I am.
Yeah.
And they said, well, Mr. Thompson, your name isn't on listener. I said, but they put my name. I said, this is my ID card. Put my name.
And they did?
Yeah, put my name.
Mr. Thompson, well, man, we out of time. I only have 1 minute. It's all yours. Anything you want to say in closing?
Well, I'm looking forward for the installation of our new government and looking forward for better working relationship towards addressing the rights of St. Martin's and the workers, and the way how we deal with Holland in the future, based on knowledge, based knowing our rights and the obligation to St. Martin.
All right, then, Mr. Thompson, I want to thank you again for coming and wish you much success. Hope we can have you back again later on in the year to see how things work out with you and the new government.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson, president of the largest union in St. Martin, the Wifol, and this has been Oral Gibbs Live on Facebook, YouTube, and Heart 99.9 FM radio. See you next time. Take care. Bye.